Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the next in our series of the Long Coffee Break. I'm Justin Moutet. I'm a newer sales engineer here at Long Building Technologies. And today we've invited John Reisanen from Valent. He's a sales engineer with a ton of experience with them, and he's going to share with us this morning about their packaged rooftop units, the DOAS units, and some ways and options for controlling them, specifically targeting enterprise customers and school districts in particular. So welcome, John. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and take it away when you're ready.
All right, Justin, do you want to enable screen sharing here, participant screen sharing?
See if that gives it to you.
Yep, here we go.
Perfect.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. As Justin said, I'm John Reisanen. I'm a sales engineer for Valent. Been with the company now for about 5 years. And we're based up here in Minneapolis, up in Minnesota. I do have to say I'm a Minnesota Wild fan, pretty big Wild fan, but I have to give a shout out to your Avalanche before we get going. They're looking pretty good. Last night was another entertaining game in that series. So good luck there. I can't pull for you guys, but I do like watching the Colorado Avalanche. They're a fun team to watch. So I'm going to be talking about DOAS applications a lot through this quick presentation, dedicated outdoor air systems. I'm going to give a quick background on DOAS applications and then get into our product details. So the ASHRAE technical definition of a DOAS system or a DOAS unit is equipment that's designed to handle 100% of the outdoor air load. That is a technical definition, but around the industry and here at Valent, when we talk about DOAS applications, DOAS units, we're really talking about units that are handling a high amount of outdoor air. Not necessarily, they don't necessarily need to be always 100% outdoor air, but just in general, high outdoor air loads. So the challenges and differences between a DOAS unit and a standard packaged recirc unit is they're typically designed to handle a high amount of humidity. Maybe that's not necessarily number one on your list out there in Colorado, but that is typically what they're designed around. And the challenge with DOAS units are they have to condition high amounts of outdoor air, and that can be expensive. It can be costly to run that year round. You have to be able to hit out there in Colorado and here in Minnesota, probably similar design days in the winter, maybe negative 20 degrees, negative 30 even in some instances. But you also have to be able to handle summer conditions at 100 degrees. And you have to bring that air down to room neutral conditions, and you have to be able to do that efficiently. The psychrometric chart on the right here shows how DOAS units are graded. The red dot is your standard rooftop unit. You have to be able to efficiently handle this red dot on a standard rooftop unit. But for a DOAS unit, you have to be able to get from each of these blue dots down to the space target, and you have to be able to do that efficiently. Also, a lot of times DOAS units are paired up with VAV, ventilation or variable air ventilation systems, so single zone VAV, multi-zone VAV. So your DOAS unit has to be able to work with those systems efficiently. Typical DOAS markets, a big one is K through 12 schools. That's our biggest for Valent. Historically, that's been our biggest market. We also do a lot of work with hotels, office spaces, assisted living and clinics, and multifamily condos and apartments. Yeah, even churches is another example. Basically, any building with a high amount of occupants. So the Valent product line can go from 500 CFM on the low end all the way up to 18,000 CFM on the high end. And that's paired with a cooling range of 3 to 70 tons. We have the most common cooling types that you're going to see with DOAS applications. So package refrigeration, split refrigeration. We also have your heat pump options. So water source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, and we have chilled water. For heating, we can go up to 1200 MBH. We have gas heat, electric heat, and hot water. And then our units are available with or without energy recovery. So with any product you're going to buy, quality matters, but that's especially important with DOAS applications because you're handling those extreme conditions really all year. You have to be able to handle that efficiently. So quality does matter. And I'm going to walk through our unit kind of clockwise around the unit, starting with the dampers to show you the design decisions we made and why it matters for DOAS applications. So starting with the dampers, our dampers are class 1A leakage rated dampers. That means it's a 3 CFM per square foot leakage rating. It's going to prevent unwanted recirculated air if you're running in 100% outdoor air mode, or if you're running in recirc mode, which our units can do, they can run in recirc mode, then you're going to prevent, you can shut those outdoor air dampers and prevent unwanted outdoor air leakage. Our supply and exhaust fans are always direct drive plenum designs. So what that means is we're going to be able to handle a variety of fan speeds and a variety of static pressures. Our energy recovery wheel is always sized for the full outdoor air load. And we like to point that out because there are some manufacturers that, and certain applications, will shrink down their energy wheel so they can downsize their cabinet. The problem with that is they're going to bypass the wheel in normal operating conditions, normal ventilating conditions. So our general rule of thumb in the Midwest, and it'll be real similar to you guys in Denver, for every 1,000 CFM of air that you bypass around the wheel, that's going to be about an extra 3 tons of demand on your cooling system. So you're going to have to account for that with your startup cooling load, your cooling size, but it's also going to add to your operating costs year round. We can add bypass to our energy recovery wheels, but that will only be used for economizer conditions. Our wheels are always sized to handle the full outdoor air load. We have multiple filter options. Depending on the unit, you can get up to MERV 13 or MERV 14. Our coils are designed for dehumidification. Again, maybe not a sticking point for you guys all the time out there in that dry mountain air, but what we do is we drop a temperature probe in after the DX coil and measure and control our cooling system directly off that coil leaving air temperature. And then we also have a hot gas reheat coil after that. Our furnaces are available with high turn down, so we can go up to 16-to-1 turn down. A lot of times you'll see 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. The benefit of going to 16-to-1 is it gives you tight temperature control. Just to throw an example at you, some numbers. Say you have a 3-to-1 furnace turned down with a 60-degree temperature rise. At full airflow, that means your minimum temperature rise is going to be about 20 degrees. Say even a worst case scenario, say you're running your supply fan at 50% speed. Now your minimum temperature rise is about 7.5 or 8 degrees, or 40, so double that 20-degree rise, so 40 degrees. That's really, maybe on the worst case design day when it's negative 20 degrees, maybe that's not an issue, but we're in shoulder season quite a bit. A lot of times what we call shoulder season is that 40 to 70 degree range. We're in that quite a bit. And if you're at 45 degrees, 50 degrees, that furnace is going to be cycling on and off, on and off, on and off. What you'll get with our 16-to-1 turn down is it's going to be about a 3.5-degree temperature rise at full airflow. But even worst case scenario, say you're at 50% airflow, your temperature rise is still only going to be about 7.5, 8 degrees. So it really gives you that tight temperature control. Moving on to our compressors, we have digital scrolls and inverter scrolls available, and our compressors are always mounted off the floor on a raised insulated shelf, and they're behind a insulated door. So that's going to help you prevent unwanted sound and vibration transmitting through the floor of the unit and into the space, or to the space outside of the unit. More sound benefits with the Valent unit is all of our condenser fans have a low sound blade design. It's a zeolabig fan. It's modeled after the wing of an owl. So it's a serrated blade edge. And that's going to be about an 8 to 10 decibel improvement over the standard battle fan. Then all of our casings are pre-painted with a $2,500 salt spray rating. Some manufacturers just leave it galvanized. That's going to wear out quicker. It's going to corrode quicker. It doesn't look as good in my opinion. And other manufacturers will paint after they assemble everything together. What you'll see there is it's going to lead to chipping. The paint will chip around the door handles. Ours are always pre-painted. So as I've been talking about, it's expensive and difficult to condition high amounts of outdoor air. So what could really help with operating costs, and what is often mandated by code, is to have energy recovery. So with Valent, we have three types of energy recovery options. We have the energy wheel, which is going to be your most common type of energy recovery. And then we have a sensible plate heat exchanger. It's a flat plate heat exchanger. And we have an enthalpic core. Now there's a time and place for each of these options, depending on your application. The energy wheel it's your most common type. It's going to give you your most efficient energy transfer with your lowest pressure drop. Our wheels, again, they're always going to be sized for 100% of your ventilation air, but we can add bypass dampers for economizer. Our polymer wheels are segmented, so you can easily pull the wheel track out of the unit and then pop out the segments, drop them in a bucket of soapy water, real easy to clean. We also have an aluminum wheel option. We have an enthalpic core heat exchanger, which is latent and sensible energy transfer. So this will help you meet your energy recovery codes and help you recover some of that latent energy and sensible energy. The main benefits for core are, one, it has very low cross contamination. It's about less than 1% of cross contamination. And that's always been a nice talking point, but that's actually more relevant now with COVID concerns. People are just more aware of air quality. Maybe they don't want any leakage from their exhaust air to the supplier. The core can be a nice option for that. The other big benefit of the core is there's no moving parts. There's no wheel motors, there's no belts. You can set it up on the roof and just forget about it. It's going to be working. I know with schools, you don't always have a dedicated HVAC technician to go up on the roof and fix units. With the core, it's real nice. You just know it's going to be working. Maybe once a year, twice a year, you'll go up there and spray the core down with a garden hose. That's all it takes to clean it. Then you're ready to go again for several months. And then finally, we have the sensible plate heat exchanger. So we manufacture the sensible plate heat exchanger here in Minneapolis. It's actually how our company originated back in the 1980s, was by building these sensible plate heat exchangers. Similar layout to the core, similar layout to the enthalpic core with a cross flow design. The difference is this is sensible only transfer. It's not going to transfer latent. So when this is nice, the classic example for a sensible plate is the high school locker room. You can picture a locker room. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sticky, wet. You don't want to transfer that moisture from the exhaust air to the supply air. So that's where the sensible plate is real nice. It's just going to transfer the heat. You can save on your heating costs, but it's not going to transfer any of that sticky moisture. It's just going to exhaust that moisture out into the air. So with Valent units, we pride ourselves on simple operation. We have a mantra of 1, 2, 3. So when you get the unit in the field, it's a matter of 1, you inspect the unit, make sure nothing broken during the shipment. 2, you enable everything, turn everything on. And then 3, you adjust it as needed, adjust your set point as needed. A big reason for that simple operation is we do an end-of-line test on every single one of our units. When you get a Valent unit out on your rooftop, it's not going to be the first time that unit has been ran. We've ran through our control sequences. We've ran all of our components, making sure everything is working properly. And that includes pressurizing and holding the cooling system at 475 PSI for 1 hour. On the right, you can see our end-of-line test document. We fill one of these out for every single one of our units. Another reason for this simple operation is our controls option, our controls package. So we've partnered with Corel Controller, a very reputable controls manufacturer in the HVAC industry. And throughout the years of working with them, we've developed a set of sequences, of fan sequences, temperature sequences, dehumidification sequences, damper sequences that are typically used in DOAS units. So it's designed for DOAS units, it's pre-programmed for DOAS units, it's tested in the factory. They're ready to go for the DOAS application, plug and play operation. We prefer to do the controls ourselves, but we do realize there's a time and place and need for third-party control. We know if you have a big school district, you're controlling everything else with your third-party controller, maybe it's a Johnson controller. We know sometimes you'll want to control our unit with that as well. So we have a couple options there. One is you can integrate with our controller through the building management system. Our controllers are compatible with BMS systems. The other is a heat cool only control option is what we call it. So heat cool only control, we're still going to provide a controller on the unit. And with that, we're going to control the internal sequences and safeties of our refrigeration and heating systems. We want to maintain control of that because it gets pretty complicated running the compressors, the head pressure control, the coil control, monitoring suction pressures. There's a lot that can go wrong with refrigeration systems. And we've developed our sequences throughout many years of operating in the DOAS market. And we don't want to turn this into the pointing fingers game if something goes wrong in the field. We want to maintain control of those systems. With this heat cool only controller, we're going to provide a terminal strip where your third-party controller can wire into that terminal strip and can control everything else. So you're controlling your modes, you're enabling your different modes, you're controlling your temperature control sequences, your fan speeds, your dampers, you're shutting it down, turning it on. You're controlling everything but your refrigeration and heating safeties. Also, with all our units with the controller, we include a web user interface as standard. Basically, what this will do is you can plug your laptop into the controller with an Ethernet cable, and then you can view and adjust your current set points. You can take a look at your current conditions, your capacities. And then with all of our units, we have the web user interface is specific to your unit. So it'll have your specific components. It'll have your specific sensors. So this can be used for startup, normal operating, monitoring. It can also be a nice service tool. So in conclusion, I started off by talking about the DOAS applications. You got to be able to remove a large amount of moisture, but even beyond that, especially out there in Denver, you're going to have a wide range of seasonal loads. Worst case design day in the winter, all the way up to 100 degrees in the summer. And you have to be able to do that all efficiently. Our solutions, we have the inverter compressors, we have modulating fans, 16-1 furnace turn down, quality components, and then our control system. It's all been pre-programmed, pre-engineered, and the unit will show up at your site ready to go to operate. Well, thanks to everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. And I want to hand this back over to Justin.
Awesome. Thank you, John. So if you're involved with a place that doesn't have Valent in your specifications or in your preferences, we'd invite you just to take a look at their high quality stuff. And especially if you are looking for increased outside air, and if you are looking for the ability to control your unit however you want, then please take a look at their stuff. And then next week, join us for high temperature heating and ventilation with Cambridge Air Solutions. It'll be a great short presentation directly from the manufacturer, again, just like all of these long coffee breaks. So thank you all so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.